All right, a lot of big stories to get to this morning.
This Clinton Inc. thing has just exploded. Donations to the foundations. Hold on,
this is huge.
Look at this. New York Times, donations to the foundation vex top Clinton aides.
Wall Street Journal.
And you know, the interesting thing about this is it verifies,
Washington
I think,
Post.
what you said yesterday, that Philippe and everybody were absolutely horrified what they had gotten themselves involved into, that they walked into this campaign with all this. And I guess Philippe at one point said, there is no fixing this. There is no quick fix.
There's no good answer.
There is no good answer.
Bill Clinton Inc.
Bill Clinton, the Washington Post article is absolutely fascinating.
Let's go through it.
On Bill Clinton. $66 million to him personally. They're like, and they're bragging.
Do you think they're hiring?
Eddie, they're bragging.
$66 million.
They're bragging in the memo that they can shake down the same corporations that they're taking foundation money for, that they can shake them down for $66 million for, quote, Bill Clinton Inc., for Bill and Hillary Clinton personally. Does that confirm what you and a lot of Clinton skeptics that supported Bernie Sanders were worried about all along?
Well, it's certainly, yes. Right? I mean, one of the things that, at least the New York Times piece said that there's no clear evidence of quid pro quo, right? But one of the things that we do know is that there is, it certainly confirms a deep suspicion that there's an ethical deficit that defines how they operate in the political domain, how they operate generally.
Right.
I want to hit an ethical and moral deficit.
And they're actually bragging about being able to shake down foundation clients for Bill Clinton money. Doug Band is bragging about it. And it's not like Doug Band dreamed this up on his own. He was doing his boss's bidding.
You know, it's really interesting. This was initiated by Chelsea Clinton.
Right.
Chelsea Clinton went to the family's attorneys and said she was worried that Doug Band was, quote, hustling, that he was hustling business and funneling it into her father.
And the timing is when her name went on the foundation. I think when she had a bigger role.
And does anybody in America believe that Doug Band, Mika, would be doing anything that Bill and Hillary Clinton didn't want Doug Band to do?
No, I know. This all starts with Bill Clinton, and I also think it's one of those situations when you really look at this, and we'll get through it point by point, you have to wonder about being careful about throwing stones. Because I love the way everyone calls the Trumps, you know, sleazy, trashy, whatever, because of a picture and money that they take from one company and give to another as a donation as opposed to their own money. All legal, but still, like, they consider it trashy and sleazy. And you call this ethically challenged. It's just so funny that elegant words are used for the Democrats.
Let me help. This is sleazy, and everybody knows it's sleazy. You're trading in public service while somebody is Secretary of State.
Larger amounts of money, and the world is used, as opposed to
you're shaking down the world for $66 million instead of a Rolex watch or a life-size portrait.
All right.
I mean, somebody's going to win a Pulitzer Prize for finding a life-size portrait of Donald Trump that he paid money for with a foundation. We're talking about $66 million here, maybe $100 million.
I'd call that more than ethically challenged.
Yeah.
That's an ethical and moral deficit.
That's what he said.
Well, that is just so hot to live in.
And I feel like we shouldn't put this. You're just elegant. I feel like you'd find elegant.
He's very elegant.
For Trump? Okay, yeah,
he's elegant. Let's go. Let's read. Here's the story.
The Clintons and the foundation bearing their name are facing fresh scrutiny over extremely blurred lines between the organization and the family's multi-million-dollar fortune. The revelation stems from the latest release of emails by WikiLeaks, allegedly hacked from the personal account of Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta. A purported 2011 memo from longtime aide to former President Bill Clinton, Doug Band, lays out extensive fundraising efforts by him and his company, Teneo, on behalf of the Clinton Foundation and the Clintons personally. The Washington Post reports that Band, quote, detailed the circle of enrichment in which he raised money for the Clinton Foundation from top-tier corporations such as Dow Chemical and Coca-Cola that were clients of his firm, while pressing many of those same donors to provide personal income to the former president. The memo, which came during Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State, goes on to discuss how that works for the foundation, how that work for the foundation could be used to extract large speaking fees and other paid work for the former president, even referring to the operation as Bill Clinton Incorporated. The Post adds that the contracts for the Clintons would pay out $66 million over 9 years if the deals remained in place. Eddie's shaking his head, so I'm wondering if there are new words coming from him. Like, damn.
Exactly.
Part of the memo allegedly reads, independent of our fundraising and decision-making activities on behalf of the foundation, we have dedicated ourselves to helping the president secure and engage in for-profit activities, including speeches, books, and advisory service engagements. In support of the president's for-profit activity, we also have solicited and obtained, as appropriate, in-kind services for the president and his family for personal travel, hospitality, vacation, and the like.
Nicole, what do you think? How bad is this?
Well, it's not good. And I think it is.
Is that what they would say, like, if the Bushes did this?
Listen, the Bushes would never do this.
I know they wouldn't.
I think it's so interesting, the point Willie made, that this came about because Chelsea Clinton started asking questions. And one of the other revelations, I think, that came out before this story did was that she'd been called a spoiled brat. She doesn't sound very bratty to me. She sounds pretty insightful.
Mm-hmm. Van's memo was sent as part of a review.
Hold on. So Willie, how? This basically confirms everything that Ron Fournier has been saying for a year now. Follow the money. Source inside the Clinton camp. Oh, there it is. Follow the money, my Clinton source said in 2015. Follow the money. And it's trading in public service for hundreds of millions of dollars personally.
And again, just like the emails.
And by the way, and using, forget the State Department, maybe they're using the State Department, but using relief work in Haiti. Hey, can you help those suffering in Haiti? It's really important. Thanks. Listen, could you also give Bill Clinton $500,000 to give a speech in your corporate luxury box?
The emails also show, just like the ones we talked about yesterday, that the people around her are well aware of the problem. Right. I mean, Huma Abedin had talking about this, you know, the King of Morocco gives $12 million, right, to the Clinton Foundation, so Hillary goes to Morocco. And Huma writes in one of these emails about Hillary, she created this mess and she knows it. Everybody, the people the closest to Hillary Clinton know, and Hillary Clinton must know on some level, that all these things will not look good when you go into a presidential campaign. At best, they're unethical. And now, again, what the question's always been is, has it led to policy change? Was something done differently by Secretary Clinton as Secretary of State as a result of donations made to her and the foundation and Bill Clinton? That line hasn't been drawn directly yet. Again, I think if you find that line in the next 10 days, you've got a massive story in the election. This is big on its own. Yeah. But if you find a policy change.
In a kind of a morally deficit kind of way, or sleazy way. It's gross. It's gross.
Is this sleazy?
My father would find that, like, he just does not get how this has constantly happened in sort of the Clinton empire, and even from, you know, the connections to Wall Street, the foundation, these thin lines, that it's perplexing to him that this seems to be acceptable.
Mark Halperin, I find myself this morning stunned by how crude, and how crudely drawn out this was. About the blurring of lines of helping, using a foundation that you say you're setting up to help the world, and at the same time bragging about how you're going to blur the lines between the money raised for the foundation in one hand, and the other raise $66 million for Bill Clinton, Inc. They're bragging about it.
There's no question that if you ever have been to CGI, you see business going on, and that Bill Clinton, Doug Band, and others enrich themselves by leveraging those relationships and by offering access to people in the context of CGI. As Willie said, the big missing piece here, which doesn't diminish scrutiny on the other things you've been talking about, is did any of those people get stuff from the government when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State? We already know they got the ability to rub elbows with people in the Clinton orbit. And I guarantee you, while some of those companies were motivated by doing good some of them were motivated by at least also doing well.
Okay, so we have two different quid pro quos, or two different blurring of the lines. We've got the one of the State Department that we're all talking about, and we'll see one of these days. We'll find out if there was ever a quid pro quo. What we certainly have here, though, is on the foundation side, the use of a foundation to make hundreds of millions of dollars for the Clintons. Now, I wonder, is the Attorney General of New York going to shut the Clinton Foundation down like he shut the Trump Foundation down? I mean, which from what I've seen, I think the Trump Foundation probably needed to be shut down. But those are just nickels and dimes compared to the money here. They're using this foundation, and they're bragging about using this foundation to make the Clintons hundreds of millions of dollars. Shouldn't the Attorney General of the state of New York launch an investigation and at least shut down the foundation like they did with the Trump Foundation until they learn more? Because there's so much more money involved here.
Well, the Clinton Foundation does do a lot of stuff that's good around the world. You can't ignore that piece of it. I think that the thing that's going to get more scrutiny again is, why were these people giving money? The Clintons would say, you know, the heads of these corporations were our friends, and we were in business with them, and that's why, and they learned about the foundation.
Right, but Doug Band himself says we're going to exploit the foundation to make Bill Clinton Inc. $66 million. We don't have to look into anybody's. Nicole, I don't have to wonder why the CEO of Dow Chemical wanted to give Bill Clinton $500,000 anymore. Doug Band tells me he was shook down by Bill Clinton.
And I think the other half of the sentence was what was incoming. So he talks about the 66 million in hand, and there were another, I think, in excess of 100 million owed to them. So, I mean, it's sort of, the more you read, the more...
And the value is increased by the fact that she's Secretary of State.
And I remember when Vice President Biden was toying with getting into the race, there were, Maureen Dowd wrote a piece, and there were other pieces about maybe one of his motivations and one of the sort of hungers in the Democratic Party was someone who had a better set of moral and ethical codes. I mean, this has been angst about the Clintons since their time in the White House.
And, you know, Eddie, you can look at Bill Clinton's speeches. I mean, I've certainly read multiple press reports. He made $250,000 for speeches, and then Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State. And suddenly, he became twice as effective a speaker because he started getting paid $550,000 per speech.
I mean, it doesn't smell good. I mean, this is something, it doesn't smell good at all. And part of what I think the Democratic primary revealed was a deep-seated suspicion about her character, not only her policies, but her character, her intimate relationship with Wall Street, with big money. And I think what the foundation has, what this reporting around the foundation reveals, right, is it gives us evidence that this wasn't just made up. Right? I mean, you think about what was it, 10 million from Viktor, the Ukrainian steel magnate, Viktor Pinchuk, and what that he demanded access to President Clinton, and if he didn't get it, the relationship would. I mean, what we see here isn't the direct line of quid pro quo.
Mining deals.
But we see all of these connections and these relationships that complicate how we think her judgment will be exercised.
And Joe, there's another factor here, which is we know when Bill Clinton gave a speech, like a lot of ex-presidents, he makes big money for giving a speech. That may be overpriced, but that's what the market is. It's these other payments, these consulting payments. What did he actually do to be paid money as a consultant?
Or what about, like, president of some
laureate
university?
3.5 million.
That is a very big one because it goes to the nonprofit college industry.
How much did he get paid for that? 14 million, 15 million? It was some staggering number over
3.5 per year. Yeah.
So what did they get for their money? What was he actually doing for them?
I think he gave a couple of speeches.
He did, and he attended some meetings, and he lent his prestige to their business.
Right. But Willie and I have been trying to do that to several because we were runners-up in the Nobel Prize, like every year.
We carry that prestige around with us. You can't put a number
and what's interesting, though,
you can't put a number.
But you would.
But you see, Robbie, and others, they recognize this problem.
Yeah.
I would. If somebody paid me $14 million to let me be their provost of the university, I would. But I would not go around saying that I'm helping little kids in Haiti in one hand and then say, give me $66 million. Yeah, they help themselves.
But
all right, and this whole thing that James Carville came over here and said, somebody going to hell for talking about this. You know, you can just help. little kids in Haiti.
Without the 14 million?
You could just set up hospitals. There are a lot of people that do it. You know, Bill Gates actually gives his money away. It's not a profit generating, it's not using contacts. Okay, here, pay Peter, now pay Paul. Now pay Peter, now pay Paul. And again, that's not me talking. Willie, that's Doug Band. In a memo talking about how they're shaking. And by the way, when I say that's Doug Band,
it's the Clintons all
it's
over
Bill
again.
and Hillary Clinton. It's not Doug Band. Doug Band is one of the most loyal people I've ever met. He's extraordinarily loyal to Bill Clinton. So loyal, it was maddening at times. So loyal, he didn't care what anybody thought about him. He didn't care who hated him. His job was to protect Bill Clinton, and I will say he did it better than anybody I've ever met in my life, protecting a political person. He was inseparable from Bill Clinton. So when we say Doug Band, we're really saying, Willie, I'm saying at least, Bill and Hillary Clinton.
It's unlikely that Doug Band is freelancing.
Doug Band doesn't freelance.
I think larger point to think about, too, is it was only August when the Clinton Foundation finally said, okay, fine, we'll stop taking foreign donations. Same thing with the email server as you read through these. Hillary Clinton had to be convinced that they weren't good ideas, that they could be a problem with these. It wasn't her instinct to say, you know what, as Secretary of State, maybe we should stop taking foreign donations to the foundation.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have a private server. It took a lot of people in her orbit to finally tell her it was a bad idea, and pressure from outside the campaign as well.
And if
it's insane.
Go ahead, Mark.
If she hadn't been Secretary of State, if she had just been a private citizen along with her husband,
right,
this stuff would have been buck-raking, and it would have been leveraging the foundation in a way that a lot of people have found unseemly. But it wouldn't be nearly the concern of someone who's trying to get elected president. When she took the Secretary of State job, the Obama administration said, there are a lot of concerns here about this relationship. Let's put some rules in place. And I think that a lot of the stuff we already know about would not have been approved of or looked kindly on by the White House or the State Department, in theory, the general counsel there, because it did not live up to the spirit, at a minimum, of trying to keep Hillary Clinton, the foundation's activities, from creating a potential conflict with her formal governmental role.
So frustrating, because then doesn't it, of course, call into question the private server all over again?
Well, of course.
I mean, how could it not?
Well, of course it does, which is, again, Ron Fournier, who's coming out of retirement and going to be on here at 7 o'clock today. We're going to talk to Ron. That's going to be our ray of sunshine in the morning from Michigan. Good morning, Michigan and
Still
America.
ahead on
Wait, hold on a second, I'm not done yet.
Oh, God.
No, I'm not done yet.
Please be finished.
So, Nicole, you know who, for me, the good guys are in this whole episode?
Chelsea.
And it's one of these things where you never know, Chelsea, you never know how politics is going to shake it. You never know, right? So John Podesta has his emails hacked into, and it's horrifying. Well, none of it, God, please, don't hack. No, that would be the worst nightmare ever if that happened to me. At the end of the process, I'm sure there's stuff in there that Podesta didn't want out there. I see Podesta as a straight shooter, as a good man, a no drama political guy. The same thing with Robbie Mook. I mean, they are, and you can go down the list of them.
Well, and these issues, we were talking about Philippe yesterday. I mean, and a press person who understood exactly what the headline might be when this got out. I'm sure when you get through everything, he was the one saying, this will not look good. I mean, so to just you restate Willie's point. I mean, there were a lot of people very, very close to her and him who knew exactly what this would look like when it came out. And I'm sure this was exactly the worst case scenario that they described to their bosses, Bill and Hillary Clinton.
And there are a lot of political figures, Mark Halperin, that are surrounded by people that put the blinders on and never take them off. I've got to say, what these emails have revealed are those people around her in her political campaign have their eyes wide open, and they, more often than not, are pushing for transparency, and they understand the costs of not being transparent. And if Hillary Clinton is elected president of the United States, and if these people are surrounding her going into the White House instead of those that got the Clintons in trouble, that might be seen as a hopeful sign.
There are two kinds of people I know who've worked for presidents and ex-presidents. Those who trade on that access and influence and relationship to get rich, and those who find another way to make a living.
Wow. Okay, still ahead on Morning Joe. Timing is everything. With just a dozen days to decide, the latest polls offer very different pictures of the state of the race. We're going to go through those. Plus, did he forget to make a left in Albuquerque? I'm just wondering, because Mike Pence takes the campaign to Utah. And later, NBC's Chris Jansing is live in North Carolina ahead of Hillary Clinton's joint appearance with First Lady Michelle Obama. And Hallie Jackson from Battleground, Ohio, where recent polls put the race at a dead heat.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.